like to share with you my process for making a travel mini album. This is going to be a gift. I've already done full size pages, which I'll show you in a few moments, of these pictures. But I want to do this gift album for my stepdaughter. I'm using a Doodlebug 8x8 album, and I'm going to do the full 8x8 pages rather than the divided pages from this album. Let's take a look at the photographs. I have some of them that I'm going to leave in 4x6 format, and then I have others that I have printed in smaller formats. I'm using a product that's new to me called Photosheet, and I'll have more about that on my blog. And I've also used Photoshop Elements to combine images and print these out. And some of them I printed really small, others are 3 inches wide, 3 inches one way but 4 inches the other. And I've got all my pictures printed out, and then I've grouped them by subject matter and also by the colors in the pictures, since that's how I typically match my papers to the pictures. I have some things that look good with wood grains. I had several things that would go really well with green papers, maybe a touch of yellow or blue. These are different subjects, but I think if I pull several green papers in, I can give some cohesiveness to my album. And I have one of the days that we had a full day activity to the Biltmore House. Of course, the beiges go well with that, and everybody happened to have on red or blue that day, so I can work with those colors as well. Some more prints that look good with the reds and blues here. So it looks like my colors are going to be some neutrals with some red, green, and blue. And so that's what I've done next, is gone out and looked for some papers. And where I found the papers was from things that were left from the 12x12 pages that I did, since I've already used these photographs, and also some additional papers that I've added. Let's take a quick look at those 12x12s.
Traditionally in my scrapbooking, I have taken a particular event like a vacation or a wedding and made all the pages cohesive, used the same type of papers and embellishments. However, in recent years, I've enjoyed the freedom of making pages or double page spreads more specific to the event of the day, whatever part of a vacation we were doing, and that's what I've done in these pages. For a mini album, I want to go back to having everything look like it's really part of the same event, and keeping some parts of the embellishments and papers at least consistent throughout the entire album. So I'm going to review these pages and look at what pieces I'm going to take from the 12x12, what ideas and colors and papers, and what things I'm going to change. With these Biltmore House pages, I love the papers that I use, the Saturdays collection from Little Yellow Bicycle, and I know I'm going to repeat that in the same pages in the 8x8 album with some of the same type of embellishment. When I got to the garden pages, I really changed color schemes, and I'm not going to do that in the 8x8 album. I may use some of the same journaling, and I'll pull in some of this green, but I know that I'm not going to use these same kinds of papers to keep it consistent. With this tubing layout, I love the arrangement, and I know I want to duplicate this in my 8x8 album as much as possible. I'll have to lose some things, shrink some things down to get it to that format, but I think I can use that same concept again. And another layout that I can repeat the arrangement is this Up to the Falls with the 3 photos. I may have to change my embellishments or stamping a little bit to get it to fit on an 8x8 page, but I think that will work as well.
All right. Now let's look at some of the papers that I've pulled. Some of these you've seen on those pages and others you haven't. As you can see, a lot of them are very small pieces, but using the 8x8 album, I think that those are going to go a long way. A couple of things that worked really well with this, and I don't believe I used in my other album. I didn't use this stripe, I know. This is from Jelly Bean Soup, but this works with everything. It matches all of the different colors that I have in the pictures. So I'm going to stretch the stripe out across the album as well as the star paper from October Afternoon, and then use some of these other papers that I've pulled to kind of keep using some of the same papers that will bring everything together. Something good for mini albums, of course, are the 6x6 paper pads, and I have two that, one called On the Bright Side from My Mind's Eye, and the PB&J collection from Basic Gray, that go great both in theme and in color with the papers that I'm using. One thing that I would have liked to have had is wood grain. I had some wood grain paper when I did these pictures, but I didn't have enough of that left. But I do have a wood grain stamp, and since we stayed in a cabin, I think I can use the stamp quite a bit in the album, and again add some cohesiveness to everything with using some of the same stamped images repeated through the album. Another place to add some cohesiveness is with the background paper, because all of these little pieces are not going to fill my album. And so I decided to use a cardstock background. I have two that I think will match all the pictures and the papers really well. I have some crumb cake, or what we always used to refer to as craft cardstock from Stampin' Up. Their craft is a little grayer, which looks great with those Biltmore pictures. And then this is their soft suede color, which I've used in the 12 by 12 pages, and I'm going to do that on some of the mini album pages. So those will be the base for everything. I always try to start thinking about my titles and what I'm going to use for titles, and usually that involves stickers. I also have some stickers in the blue. There's my green and my red. I picked out some neutrals. It's great font from Amy Tangerine to try to keep things cohesive. And I have, if those fail, I have two thickers that you can color, some chipboard and these Mistables. Okay. Now let's look at embellishments. I didn't bring out all the embellishments that I'm going to use. I have brads and buttons and stuff organized by color, and I know where to find those really easily. But I'm pulling all this together in a kit, so I pulled a couple of washi tapes, those little people that I know I want to use. I have those tickets. I still have some of those left, and some of the smaller sizes that'll be good for the 8x8 album. On one of my pages you saw earlier was this kind of bingo card. This is from Simple Stories. So I have one of those. I think the Memories one might be nice. And I went to look at the collections as well. There were some stickers from the collections that I'm using from October Afternoon, Campfire, and from the Saturday's collection where quite a bit of the paper came from. And my pages would not be complete without ribbon. So I have quite a few ribbons here that work with the papers. This, I think this may have come from Walmart years and years ago, and I've used it on a number of my pages over the years. A little goes a long way, and I think it'll be a great accent, this denim, in my mini album. Some more in the color schemes, the reds, the red and blue here. So these are a few of my embellishments, and I'm pulling all this together in a kit. And then our next video will look at how I lay the pages out so that the project can go fairly quickly. Thanks for joining me today.